Make sure that you are. Good morning. I am your host, Tanil Shah, Director of Education Programs here at ABC Youth Futures Incorporated. We are going to give you a few pointers, tips, suggestions, just a little bit of feedback today to get you started on your college journey. What a lot of people do not realize is that part of your college journey is just getting to college and the things that you do before you even walk on the campus. And this is a huge part. Today, we're going to talk about your personal statements that go on your application and just figure out ways to make those really, really stand out, really, really shine. I am going to share my screen. I am so thankful to have with us Dr. Robertson. She is Robinson. I mispronounced that. I apologize. She is our leader here at ABC Youth Futures, and she has agreed to run the chat box because when I'm sharing my screen, it's a little bit difficult to see. That being said, I want you to feel free to send in comments, send in questions, raise your hand, ask questions. This is not a lecture per se. This is a collaboration to help you improve what it is that you need to make your future happen. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so once again, the purpose is our personal statements that persuade. We are tying what you've already been taught in class to how it affects your future. A little bit of background information for you. Before we get started, I'd like to do a bit of an icebreaker with you. I'd like you to share in the chat your name, your grade level, and a meme that reflects your feelings about teamwork. As background information, you will need something to write with, something to write on, and a resume, a CV, or a list of awards and achievements. It's okay if your list is not complete. It's okay if your resume is incomplete. I just want you to have something to start with, something to work with. I'm going to let the music play for a few minutes while you get those items together and think about the icebreaker, and then I will come back on and we'll continue. Okay, we have another minute or so, just giving you time to finish the icebreaker and gather your materials, something to write with, something to write on. If you are faster handwriting, you can always handwrite and then type it later. If you are faster at typing, you can use a word processor, Word document to make that work better for you. Okay, I'm going to stop the music there for you guys. Dr. Robinson, do you there? Let's look at the chat, see what's going on there. Okay. Go back to StreamYard, see if we've got some comments. Okay, I am going to keep moving forward. I know that some of you guys will be watching this on the recording, so I want to keep the pace going. And just a reminder to you that the power of what we're doing today is the feedback that we are able to provide. You have two lifetime educators here that are willing to give you feedback and kind of guide you and give you pointers about what's really working for your essay and then what's not. So please keep the contact information in mind. You are welcome to send it to us or send it to me directly, and Tennille.Shaw@abcyouthfuturesincorporated.com, and I will give you feedback on your essay. That is really the power of what we're doing today. There is a second part that will be offered next Saturday on the 30th at the same time, 10:30 a.m., and we will do direct feedback and really just help you polish what you've already created today. Okay. Okay. So we're going to move on to the next one. Just a little bit quick background about me. Just why am I doing this? I have been a teacher. I've been an educator for the last 18 years. I would say that's the last 18 years paid. I believe I was teaching way before then. I am a mom of two. I do have one student that is in college right now, and then I have one student that is in 5th grade. I have a specialty in English and reading. It has been my strength for a very long time, and I just love to share that information. Also, when I was undergraduate, when I was in the undergraduate program, I was working in the admissions office, so I saw a lot of the applications and things that came through, which gives me a little bit different insight than some other people. Okay, our agenda today is we're going to discuss the rationale of what we're doing. Why should you be concerned about your personal statement? We're going to share a couple of personal statement examples. We are going to create our own personal statement, and then as promised, we're going to give you that feedback so that you can polish and do what you need to do. Please interrupt at any time. If you need to come off the mute and just ask your question, that's fine. Let us know what's going on, what concerns you have. Okay, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about someone that you would want to work with on a group project. I want you to take about 30, 45 seconds to do that. I'm setting a timer. Think about who you would want to work with on a group project. All right, and there is our timer. So some things that come to mind, things that I've seen in the chat, things that I've seen when I've asked this question before, are you want to work typically. A lot of students complain when they are assigned to group work with people because of the people they're assigned to. So you want to work with someone that is typically dependable, reliable, someone that does good work, someone that is easy to get along with, someone that can stay focused, but at the same time be fun and enjoyable. You want to work, typically you want to work with someone that is knowledgeable about what they're doing. No one necessarily wants to pull the whole weight of the project, things like that. And the reason I pose this question to you is because this is what personal statements lend themselves to scholarship applications, to entrance for colleges and universities, but they also lend themselves to applying for jobs. And this is what colleges and universities are looking for. These are the same traits that they're looking for when they're going to award money to you in the form of a scholarship or grant. This is also what people are looking for when they want to employ you. They want dependable people that are they want dependable people that are easy to get along with, that have good ideas, that are knowledgeable about what they're doing, and that are going to bring something to the table. And this is what your personal statement does. Your personal statement takes all these numbers and statistics about you, your grade point average, your ACT score, your SAT score, the number of times you've won the championship, all these different things. It takes all these numbers and turns you into a person. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to convince an organization, a college, a university, an employer, whatever, a scholarship committee, that you are a person that we would want to work with, that you are a person worthy of working with. Okay. So if you had hundreds of thousands of applicants that are applying for the same spot, how would you decide between them? No one wants to read, necessarily thousands of applications, even though this is what universities do every day. No one wants to read, no one wants to go through. People like having options, but just like going into a store with, more options than you could ever want, it can be very, very overwhelming. It can be hard to decide. So one thing that really makes you stand out as a student is to have a personal statement that is different. That's a window into who you are. And that's different than all the numbers that are on the paper, because you could have a 25 on your ACT, someone else could have a 25 on their ACT. You could have a 3.8 GPA, that other person could have a 3.8 GPA. That doesn't really make you stand out. I mean, they're outstanding, obviously, they're outstanding achievements, but it doesn't make you stand out. Your personal essay is what we want to really focus on to make you stand out. Okay? Give you a minute to look at the two pictures and read the words that go with them. Okay, if you notice on the left is the applicant. When I say you are just a number until you do something that makes you stand out, the applicant, the application, all the numbers, all the information you provide creates a picture. But if you notice the person on the right, it is a clearer picture of who it is that we're looking at. Both applicants have good grades. Both applicants have solid test scores. Both applicants have 3 people at least that were able to write letters of reference. Okay. In the second case, with the personal statement, you are able to demonstrate that you are a leader in your class, that you are active in your community, that you have overcome obstacles such as a lack of resources. And creating that clearer picture enables the committee to make a better choice and really see who you are and set you apart. You want to be someone that is memorable. Anybody that's online, if you have questions at this point, please interject or share anything you need to share. Okay. So we want to talk about what we already know about good writing and what needs to be included in a persuasive essay. It is not called that, but your personal statement is your personal statement, your letter of reference, is a persuasive essay. For most of you as sophomores, if you're in there a little bit further ahead, as sophomores, you had to write persuasive essays. You had to pick a point, pick a position, and you had to convince someone that you were right using data, using statistics, using ethics and emotional pull, using research and quotes and all of that. And that good writing has not gone out the window because you're no longer in that class. That good writing still needs to be applied to the essay that you're going to submit, because not only the essay that you are submitting is also a reflection of the education you've already acquired. Okay. In that persuasive essay, you definitely need to state the point. What are you doing? In your persuasive essay, you're going to state your goal. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? In the persuasive essay, you need to have your reasons, your examples, your backup. In your personal statement, you need to have your reasons, your backup. Why should these people take time and spend money on you? Because when they are pulling you into their university, when they're going to give you a scholarship, when they're going to employ you, they are investing time and money in you. What makes you worthy of that? And it's your job to persuade them. It's your job to convince them that you are the best bet for them, and you're going to use the resources in the best way possible. Do we have any questions before I go on to the example? Okay. So I will list my sources at the end of this presentation, but I do have an essay. It's kind of lengthy, but I want you to take a few minutes to kind of look at it, and we'll talk about what works and what doesn't work in this particular essay. Right. We're going to give everybody about 3 minutes or so to go ahead and read and digest, and then we're going to talk about what we're going to discuss, what needs to happen next. Great. For my mathematicians, I apologize if it's not exactly 4 minutes. I am just kind of a gauge. We're going to keep moving forward so that the information is there. I purposely put this presentation on Google Slides so that it is shareable. Sometimes PowerPoint and Microsoft, you have to sign in under those things to make that work. So it's under Google Share, Google Slides. Okay, one thing we're going to talk about what happened in this essay was there were typos, there were spelling and punctuation errors. You want to make sure that when you submit an application that it is the best reflection of you, and you've had multiple people look at it and so there are no errors in spelling or punctuation, because that's just an easy way to eliminate you. They can assume that you're lazy. They can assume that that you made careless mistakes. They can assume that you just didn't care enough to double check, which none of those are true as you're applying. You want to make sure that your work doesn't give off that impression. It doesn't seem like a short length essay, but the thing about it is when they give you a word count limit on your essay. The goal is to be effective while using the majority of that space. They definitely don't want you to go over. They don't want you to ramble and go on and on and on, but they definitely want you to use the majority of the space. In this case, this person still had another 2,000 words left that they could have used, and you want to use about 90% of what you're given in a very effective way. 90% shows that they determined that 4,000 was about the max that people needed to be effective, and you were able to be effective within that. If you go too short, it looks like you didn't put forth the effort or you didn't have a lot to say. Some of the spacing's a little bit weird. One thing that you want to make sure is that you are putting a very positive spin on everything that you're sharing, and being negative, the whole gap here, the whole I didn't do as well, may be true, but there's a way to show how that's a strength and not a negative thing. The other thing is the poor analogies. If you're going to make a quote, if you're going to make an analogy, if you're going to compare something, it has to have meaning and add to your essay. It has to add, there has to be a point to it. Otherwise, you could have left it out and everybody would have been just as happy. It's a little bit unfocused. I know many of you, when you are in school, I've heard this from students of all ages. I don't like to plan when I write. I just want to write it. Well, the problem with that is that when you write it without planning, your words kind of go all over the place because your brain's kind of all over the place. You have good ideas, but they're lost with a lack of direction. It's kind of like getting in your car and just turning it on and not knowing where you're going. You do want to have some goal you're trying to get to and a route to get there. So definitely want to plan. This is the point that I want to make. These are the examples that I think are relevant. One thing that you notice this writer did was they use a lot of, because they are an English major, they use a lot of literature examples, but you don't need a lot of literature examples. You need 2 or 3 examples that really add support to what you're saying. Okay? Just listing a bunch of novels and popular novels and writers is not helpful, simply because anybody can Google, especially now, you can go on your phone, Google the top 10 works of literature of all time and list those in your essay. And that doesn't mean that you've gained anything from that. And it definitely doesn't mean that you've learned anything from that. Okay. The other thing is we don't want to use emojis. We don't want to use text talk. We don't want to be informal. When you are applying, yes, you are a student, but you are presenting your best professional self. Okay, so your tone, the words you choose, the way you express yourself, it's okay to add a little bit of humor, but it still needs to be done professionally. And emojis take away from that. Emojis are way too informal in this particular instance. You definitely want to make sure that you're not using that text talk or that slang. How you talk to your friends varies differently for most of you than how you talk to an elder person that you respect, whether it's a community leader, whether it's your grandparents or something like that. There's a differentiation there, and you want to make sure that you are expressing that, because this person doesn't know you like that, and you want to make sure you're not being too informal. Okay. One thing that you want to be careful of, especially, and this depends on how you're applying to the university. If you are filling out a common application, which most people do because it's time effective and cost effective, you don't want to name the specific, unless all the universities you're applying to have that specific major, you don't want to name that major, but you definitely don't want to name that university, because what happens is the common application goes out to all the universities, and the minute they see the name of the university that you put in your essay, that for in this case, this person put Oxford University, and the minute that they see that, then they're like, well, I don't need to look at this because they've already decided what school they want to go to. They don't want to go to my school, so there's no point in me looking at it. And you made it easy for them to eliminate you. Okay, you definitely want to make sure that your objectives and your examples work well together. In that case of this person says, well, I want to be a superior student or get superior grades. And while that may be true, that when reading that on this side of the table, that comes across as very narcissistic, very arrogant. And we want to present the best version of ourselves, and that doesn't necessarily bring it out. It's okay to be driven. It's okay to have strong goals. It's okay to want to be the best. But there is a better way to articulate your goals in a way in which you don't come across as just all about you. Okay. Looking forward to reading the comments and questions. We're going to keep moving forward. Okay, this next essay, it's 2 slides long, so I'm going to let you guys read this, and then we'll read the second part, and then we'll discuss why this is a better option. Those of you watching the live version will be able to pause it and review it to see it again. Okay. One thing that this second writer did that worked really well is there were still negative things that they had to address, but for every negative thing that happened, they were able to turn it around and show how it ended up being a positive in their life. This essay, more than the previous essay, gives us insight into who this person is. They still use the word I a lot, which in a personal essay is completely acceptable, but they're not just focusing on a specific university or things like that. They're showing how they've grown as a person. And this is really, really important. For most students, college is the first time people have been forced to make decisions on their own. And so college is very, very challenging as you're coming in to this as a young adult. And they want to see evidence that you've overcome challenges. They want to see that you can face the challenges of being in college, and they want to see what tools you use, what tactics you take to overcome these challenges, because it's going to hit you. It happened to me in college. You're going to hit a point where you're just like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. And even though I was a really good student, I got to college and it was like a totally different world. How are you going to deal with people not holding your hand through what's happening? How are you going to deal with having to find out information on your own? How are you going to deal with having to find out what kind of information you need to find out? How are you going to deal with the different challenges that you face with managing your time, where there is no bell schedule, there is no timer, you show up, you don't show up? And that's what colleges want to see, because they're getting ready to invest time and money in you, and they want to make sure that you have what it takes to go through the process. They don't want you to come in and leave. They don't want you to come in and drop out. They want you to come in and successfully complete the program. And one thing that your personal essay needs to do is show that you have that resiliency to overcome the challenges. Okay. Your personal statement should include your background. Why are you applying for this major at this college? If you're going to name the major and the college, you need to make sure that whatever you're applying to has that major, and make sure the application is only going to that college. Otherwise, you just kind of do what the second person did and just give a general interest as to what your goals are going forward. I'm going to give you an illustration in a few minutes about the difference of creating a picture versus telling. It's very important as good writers to show, not tell. To show, to create a picture in that person's mind. What background? Why is it that this matters to you? Why is it that going to college matters to you? If you are a first generation college student, then go ahead and explain that. Why does that matter to you? Why are you challenging something that has not been accomplished yet in your family? Okay. Why are you going to a higher tier university? Why are you going to a school outside of your home? Why are you taking on this challenge? Because college is going to be challenging. Why are you doing this? And you want to make sure that you go ahead and give them insight into what's driving you, what's making you want to do this. As I've said before, you want to show your ability to overcome and prove your resiliency. When you describe a challenge, please describe a challenge that has happened recently within the last 2 years. And the steps, more importantly, not just the challenge, but the steps you took to overcome it. Maybe you had to retake a class because you had a horrible grade in that class. Maybe you had to go to tutoring while you were working, while you were doing extracurricular activities. Maybe you had to help take care of a family member while going to school. All of these things are all these things are actual challenges, and we want to make sure that you pick something meaningful. Missing the bus is not necessarily a meaningful challenge, just depends on what's going on. Amid COVID, a lot of you guys, one thing that you guys have that people didn't have before is you're going to high school in the middle of a pandemic. And if you want to show how you went from having a teacher directly in front of you every day to having to do independent work in a packet, or doing work online where you didn't have someone standing over you, that is a challenge that you had to overcome, that no one else had to do. You went from having one computer class, maybe two in the same day, to being online all day long. And so that is definitely something that you could put in your personal statement and just show how you overcame that. What resources did you use? How did you seek help? What did you do with what you were told? The other thing that you really want to include is your ability to make a difference. Your awards, your leadership, your achievements, the things that you've done. Okay, how you have made a positive impact on the people around you. And this can be teaching a younger sibling, cousin, neighbor, something like that. This can be starting a community project. This can be taking on roles in your community organization or your churches. You are bragging per se, but you are bragging correctly. You are showing, not just saying that you're superior, that you have great intellect, that you're top of the class. You're actually showing them what you've done with these wonderful gifts that you have. Okay, a picture is definitely worth 1,000 words. If you notice throughout this presentation, I have tried to use pictures to really make the words that I'm saying stand out to you. The picture is worth 1,000 words. The brain thinks in pictures, and we want to make sure that we're using our words to create that picture for the person reading it. I have two different videos that I want to share with you. I like to make the comparison between Pharrell's Happy, that was on the soundtrack of Despicable Me. He tells you over and over again that he's happy. I am showing the YouTube video with the lyrics explained because I want you to see what picture each artist creates in your mind. The second video that I'm sharing with you is Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling. Once again, it's about being extremely happy, and I'm sharing those lyrics, and I want you to look at the words and think about how are they showing you or telling you, and how they're showing and telling you that they are happy. So first up, Pharrell. Okay. I'm now that song's stuck in your head. I want to just kind of point out a few things to you. As much I love this song, and he does use Pharrell's lyrics do have imagery of a hot air balloon and floating in the air, which just feels that sense of freedom, that just strong sense of freedom. But for the most part, he's telling you over and over again he's happy. There are ways that he can also show you that he's happy. So I want to look at the second or the next slide, and we're not going to play the entire thing. Y'all are welcome. It's on Dope Lyrics off of YouTube. Y'all are welcome to look at it in detail. Okay, I'm going to stop right there for just a second. Hold on, let me stop it. I'm going to stop right there again. Once again, that feeling of being so happy, you're flying, you're free, you don't need control. But I want to point out how in the lyrics for "Can't Stop the Feeling," how Justin Timberlake is showing that he's happy. I want you to keep that in mind when you're writing. Show them that you're a leader. Don't tell them that you're a leader. Show them. I convinced 10 of my classmates to go feed the homeless. Don't say I'm a leader. Show them you're a leader. I overcome, don't say I can overcome obstacles and I'm resilient. Say I worked 8 hours, stayed up late to finish an essay for school, and then still was on time for school and made an A on the test the next day. Show them that you are the person that they want. That's what I really want to drive home to you. Okay, what we're going to do, I would encourage you guys to get some type of cheat sheet. This I would do in handwriting, but you can set up a Word document. It really doesn't matter how you write it, but you need to have this for you. One thing I really want to point out to you guys again is that you are going to create a general personal statement with this workshop. We have part 2 coming up next week, but you are going to tweak it a little bit each time that you're applying for something different. So for me, I have a template that I have used successfully to be employed everywhere that I've worked. But I have to tweak it each time. I have to make little adjustments depending on what I'm applying for, depending on what organization I'm applying to. The same is going to be true about your personal statement. When you apply to certain universities versus other universities, when you apply to a scholarship versus a university, when you apply to your jobs versus one job versus the other, you're going to make small changes to tailor it to the audience that you're writing to. But having a base to work from means that you're not starting from scratch. Okay, On your cheat sheet, these are the components that you have to have. We understand that you are 17, 16, 15 years old. We understand that your things are going to change. You're going to have new experiences. You're going to tweak your goals. But when you're writing, if you want to persuade, just like on the persuasive essays that you wrote in class, you want to make sure that you are picking a side and sticking with it. So that you can make your paper the most persuasive and the most convincing that it can be. You want to set a goal. I want to study whatever you want to study. I want to study computer science to become a software engineer. Okay. I want to study English to become a professor at a university. I want to study this. And the thing is, you may have 2 or 3 goals. You may have to tweak it a little bit, but you want to pick a goal. What I really discourage students from doing is putting undeclared or undecided on there. I know that that may be, but what I've noticed is that students that are undeclared or undecided get a different level of attention than people that have strategic goals. When you have strategic goals, you get a lot more push behind you. If you end up changing it, you're human. That makes sense. But pick something that you think you're interested in and go for it. For me, I changed my major from business to education the end of the first year that I was in college. So forever it had a business major, and then a year later I just said no, education is where I want to go, and switched it. So back to your cheat sheet. You want to state a goal, something specific that you're working toward. Okay. You want to give background as to why you're interested in that field, why you're interested in that university. Once again, the caution I give to you is don't name the university if you're filling out an application that's going to if you're doing the common application to all the states, don't name the university, but definitely explain how your life experience has brought you to this goal. Maybe you watched your family member heal people and you want to go into medicine. Maybe you watched a neighbor, litigate in court and now you want to be a lawyer. Whatever your goal is, give background. And so when I say background, the reason I'm honing in on that is when you say background, we don't want to know about your little bicycle party at 5 unless that contributes to your goal that you have before you. Okay. You want to make sure that the background that you're giving is specific to the goal that you're trying to achieve. Tied into that background is your motivation. What makes you successful? What makes you want to be successful? How are you overcoming all the other things that you have to face? Okay. Are you going to college because you were told to go to college? Or are you going to college because you have goals that you're trying to achieve? Are you going, because those are the people that make it through. Lots of people start, we want you to finish. Okay. What makes you want to be successful? Challenges. What is a meaningful obstacle that you have had to overcome? Some of you have multiple challenges. Some of you overcame them and didn't even look at it as a challenge until after the fact or until someone pointed it out. But what did you overcome? How did you deal with that obstacle? What's your success? What leadership? What service? What awards? What recognition? Pick something that's happened in the last 2 or 3 years. You being the Cub Scout leader 10 years ago is probably not what they're looking for. So you want to pick leadership, service, awards, recognition that you have. And here's the other push. If you don't have those and you are still a sophomore, junior, do things so that you have that. Volunteer, help at help somewhere, donate, get involved in a cause. One thing that is a part of the ABC Youth, there are things that they have to do. The Scholars on the Move, there are things they have to do. So get involved with something to build up that resume and have experiences to share in your essay. The other thing is the value. Why is choosing you for this scholarship, for this job, for this college and university, for this major? Why is that a smart choice? What are you bringing to the table? Okay, this is where you can quote brag correctly. I am a team player. I work really hard, and don't just tell them, show them. I am good. One of my skills is bringing people together, as exemplified, like I was on a group project where no one wanted to work together. And by the end of the project, we got the top grade in the class because we were talking together and we were emphasizing communication. What is it that you bring to the table? What is your value? And that is really how you're going to close your essay and really make that stand out. Okay, our next steps are, I want you to create a list of accomplishments and complete the cheat sheet that was on the previous page. I want you to think of your worship, your places of worship, your clubs, your community service, your neighbors that you help. Is there someone that you go mow the lawn? Now, the caution here is if you get paid for it, that doesn't really count as service, but something along those lines. Go mow somebody's lawn for free. Okay, your draft of your personal statement. When you do your draft of your personal statement, which is going to be really important to our second part that's coming up next week, your thoughts and ideas are the most important. Get your thoughts and ideas down. Do those first. Then go back and fix the spelling, go back and fix the punctuation, go back and pick better words. Go back and do that. Okay? Which is your next step. You're going to proofread and revise. I strongly advise you to read the words out loud to yourself. When you are reading silently, your brain scans, and your brain is so smart that it will put in what it's supposed to say and you'll miss it. Read it out loud, okay? And then when you catch it, then you're like, okay, that doesn't work. Oops, that's not what I meant to say. Oops, that's not right. But then I want you to share the essays with me so I can give you advice. And if you have something there, it's like, I'm trying to say this and I don't like the way this said, it's okay if you don't know how to fix it. You can just highlight and say, hey, will you help me? Hey, Ms. Shaw, will you help me with this? Help me understand a better way to word this. And I will give you feedback. Yes, I am an English teacher, but I will give you feedback. I'm not going to rip your essay apart. I'm going to tell you what's working in your essay and take your ideas and help make I'm not going to turn your essay into my essay. I'm going to take your ideas and help show you how to present the best version of yourself. Okay? Any questions, concerns, anything that you have? I know as teenagers, you are striving so hard to be independent, but which is why this part of the process is very challenging, because a lot of times people don't want that feedback. They don't want to be told they're doing something wrong. My goal is not to, just like at the end of this, even while I've been talking, I've been getting feedback on how it's coming across to you, and I've made adjustments in the middle of it. Feedback is how we grow. So please share it, and I will get back to you. And then on next week we will talk about how your essays have come together and really help you polish it so you're ready to go. Part of the reason we're doing this at the end of January is because for many of you, February 1st is the scholarship deadline, especially those of you that are planning on going to school in the fall. I'm trying to get this done in time so you can submit it and be ready to go. Okay. Reminder, you want to open for your essay, you want to open with your goals, explain your hardships, what you've overcome, explain leadership and awards and things that you've done, and then close with how you add value to the university. I appreciate you so much for your participation. I appreciate you so much for your time. There is my contact information. You can send that number. You can just send a direct text message to. So definitely thank you guys for listening. I thank you parents for sharing this. I thank you educators who are looking at this for sharing this with your students. That number will come. You can call that number. You can text that number. Texting is better. And you can email your resume, your statements, personal statements to me, and I will give you feedback on that. I thank you guys so much. The last slide is just where I got the information from. The images came from google.com. Also, obviously, I used YouTube, Academic Help, that website with Oxford Royale, WOW Essays, and the slide template came from SlideGo. Thank you again for your time. I'm going to leave that up for a little bit. You can screenshot it, send me information. A reminder that I want you guys to take the next couple of days to work on your essay and send it. And then when we come back on the 30th, same time, 10:30, when we come back on the 30th, we will actually show what works and show what's not working and help you polish and perfect it. So today was about just getting you set up for the essay and getting your draft done. So next week is about perfecting it. Thank you again.